Hi, my name is Jeff and I'm a medical student here in the Boston community. Today is Orange and Maroon Day and I wanted to do something to support the Virginia Tech community. But I'm not quite sure what exactly to do, and I think it'll take a little bit of time with my friends and family and you all to figure out together how to brainstorm something that can be meaningful and significant. In the meantime, I thought in perhaps a small way to contribute to the healing, I would share some stories about acts of kindness that have happened this week from professors, and also a little bit about my med school community and how we're relating and dealing and trying to heal. So if you made part of my bumbling, I'm going to begin by talking about our first year class show, which is of dancing, singing, theater, composition, Bhangra, hip-hop, salsa, and it's free and it's open to the public, and it tries to celebrate culture, have a boisterous atmosphere, and a really good time. And actually, a couple hours ago, I walked into my friend's room, and there were a couple other friends, and he was in his towel, he had his razor, his soap, his shampoo, all ready to dress up, to take a shower, to shave, and look good for the ladies, and look good for the after party. And it was in this setting that I asked them, how are you feeling about the tragedy? Today is Orange and Maroon Day, and how? It was awkward. It was definitely awkward, especially because in about 2 hours we're going to have the first year show. But they all paused, and there was a natural moment of silence. It was respectful, and I could tell that they've been thinking that even though there's an immunology final on Monday and a show in 2 hours, they had been thinking about this. And it didn't escape them, and they were remembering. And that was reassuring to know. Yesterday I talked to the Dean of Students, and she had been working on this email to our entire class, talking about some of the prayer services, some of the vigils that the university would be holding. And she told me that it took her 1 hour to work on 3 sentences. Even though when I read the email, those 3 sentences didn't seem all that difficult to write, but she fretted and wasn't quite sure what to say that could be meaningful, that wouldn't be overbearing, that would do something, that would make a concrete difference. Yesterday I also had the good fortune of listening to Drs. Paul Farmer and Kim talk about their experiences when they were young. When they were in their 20s as medical students, they went to Haiti, which is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Lots of political instability, a lot of strife, poverty, and ostracized and isolated people. But as med students, they chose to reach out and make a difference. And then when they were doctors, they kept it going. And they provided free care to everybody. They didn't turn down a single person due to money issues. And it was a free model that, against all odds, cured a lot of multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, a lot of different kinds of diseases, and maintained and stopped the progression of a lot of HIV and AIDS. At the time, everybody thought they were crazy. The WHO, the establishment, they thought they were simply crazy because it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of complicated issues in order to be able to fix tuberculosis, to fix AIDS, because you have to take so many different drugs, and they thought it couldn't be done in a very poor environment. But they did it. Against all odds, they did it. They decided that they were going to make reaching out to isolated community one of their priorities, that they were going to care and show compassion. And they brought it to Lima, to Rwanda, to Russian prisons, and to the United States. And hopefully we can get them on YouTube to share their stories. But it kind of relates to another professor today who spoke to us, Dr. Alfredo Quinones Hinojosa. And I apologize if the pronunciation is wrong, but when he was young, he crossed over the Mexican border in his teens, and he was planting on a farm, and everybody thought that that was going to be it. and he lived in this trailer, and later he did truck driving. And he got in this terrible, terrible accident, and basically that could have been the end of his life. But somebody reached out to him in isolation and lifted him up. And he started working really hard, and then he went to Harvard Medical School and then UCSF, and now he's a brain surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And despite that he's a brain surgeon, really busy schedule, very hectic, and probably very tired all the time, he takes the time to reach out to those who are isolated, to those who are really in need of help. And he makes the time. And again, his story reminds me of another professor we have met, Dr. Sarah Boyle, who was a domestic violence survivor, and she used to have a very abusive husband. And against all odds, she left that environment, but she had 2 children that she needed to take care of, and she didn't have a high school diploma. But she kept working really hard at it and took night classes, got her high school degree, got her college degree, and then got into Harvard Law School. But the thing is, she couldn't go to Harvard Law School at the time, because even though Harvard Law School had given her an entire full scholarship package, she couldn't pay the rent, and she needed to take care of 2 children. But then one day Harvard Law School called her and said that we have everything set, you don't have to worry again. And apparently somebody, an anonymous donor, had paid her rent for the entire 3 years. And it was only several years later that she found out it was her old high school English teacher, who herself, when she was going to grad school, couldn't go, but then another anonymous donor had given her a full scholarship. And so in this way, it's been a continuous perpetual chain of acts of kindness. And so now, even though she's raised a lot of money and awareness for domestic violence and established a lot of shelters and support groups for women, she pays out of her pocket her own money to support some high school and college students through their tuition and through their education process. So those are just some of the stories that have been brought up this entire week. I think our community, our medical school community, we're still thinking about what the best way is to be respectful and to show support. I know there's a lot of tragedy all over the world every day, and I'm sorry I don't have videos to cover those topics. And I know it's not right, and that a lot of the tragedy that is going on in the world does not have the proportional amount of media coverage given. But I hope in some small way that these stories of my professors and my classmates can in some way be of some help or healing. Thank you for listening.